Okay, mental illness, I believe, is a deficiency or like crossed wires in the brain.
Like an unusual defect in someone's brain or body that affects the way they think or act.
Well, they say like diarrhea is an illness, right? So like I think mental illness would be diarrhea of the brain.
Mental illness is something that affects the brain or emotional state of a human being, and it could be hereditary, well, probably is hereditary, or maybe it just comes about through big traumatizing life events.
I think a mental illness is something that affects the way you act, or is something that affects the brain.
The dictionary definition of a mental illness is a mental or bodily condition marked primarily by sufficient disorganization of personality, mind, and emotions to seriously
Mental
impair
illnesses
normal
include, but are not
psychological
limited
function
to,
of the individual.
depression, obsessive-compulsive disorder, attention deficit disorder and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, schizophrenia, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, bipolar disorder, alcoholism, panic disorder, multiple personality disorder, social anxiety disorder, and eating disorders such as anorexia and bulimia.
Mental illness has existed since the beginning of human history. Early cultures view mental illnesses as religious punishment or demonic possession. This belief continued into the Middle Ages, and the solution was supposedly religion. Throughout the ages, mental illness has been stigmatized, and patients in need of help are often put in unsanitary and unsafe conditions such as institutions and asylums, therefore being shunned by the general public. These conditions also contributed to the connotation that mental health patients were unclean and dangerous. While medical treatment of mental disorders has greatly improved due to increased scientific and social understanding, there still exists today a great deal of misunderstanding and stigma regarding this issue.
The minute that you're sort of pegged as being different, it's very easy to be sort of stigmatized by your peers. I think, too, that we live in a society where the media plays a huge part and is at fault with it, because when they do bring up a character on a television show or a movie that has a mental illness, it's sort of larger than life. We often hear again and again about folks who are schizophrenic and how they kill. In reality, statistically speaking, folks with schizophrenia have a much higher probability of being hurt by someone else than hurting someone. But again, because of the media,
The issue of stigma surrounding mental illness is important to me because of my close personal connection to it. Late 2013, I was professionally diagnosed with anxiety and depression. My personal battle has included self-harm, therapy, and a regular dose of medication to keep my serotonin levels in check. My connection to mental illness helps me to see its link to my core values of tolerance and acceptance. Unfortunately, many people refuse to tolerate and accept those with mental illnesses. As someone suffering with one, I know that many others who suffer are normal, everyday people who look just like you and me, and it is unfair to automatically assume anything about them due to a health condition they have. Once we, as a society, can learn to accept those with mental illnesses, or in the very least, tolerate them, then those who have them will no longer be ashamed.
I think there are a lot of misperceptions about this population. Well, first of all, mental illness is far more pervasive than people think. It's really far more common than you think. Also, that it carries a lot of stigma, but the truth is it's a very treatable form of illnesses. I think that we do hear some cases of patients who are either psychotic or depressed and make really bad, dangerous choices, and so I think we tend to think of this population as a great threat to our safety, but the real truth there is that patients with mental illness are far more risk to themselves and to other people. So I wish we could educate the population more about really what mental illness is about, so we could also get better services for these folks.
The fact that there are many people who would feel uncomfortable participating in an interview speaks volumes about the social stigmas surrounding this issue. Due to misunderstandings and misperceptions, there are many individuals with mental illnesses who would fear speaking about their experiences on camera. The stigmas we have against mental illnesses hinder important values in society, honesty and self-expression. For fear of discrimination and social alienation, many people with common disorders such as depression, anxiety, or OCD avoid demonstrating in any way that they suffer from such conditions. As a family member, friend, and simply fellow human being of many people suffering from mental illnesses, I have realized how damaging it can be to have to hide your true self, even from people you are close with. Self-expression should not be limited to what others deem normal or appropriate. Open, honest communication is not only necessary for the breakdown of social stigmas, but for the well-being of people suffering from mental issues as well. It is estimated that 1 in 4 people suffer from mental health issues in the United States, which means that you probably know someone with a mental illness. So many people suffer from these difficulties, it's important to treat them with the same care and respect you would any other human being, because most of these individuals function as productive members of society. When we learn of their mental illness, it is important not to treat them any differently, but to understand and empathize with their everyday difficulties. Mental disorders are a part of someone's life, but do not define them as a person. As I have seen in my own life and family, people do not heal or learn to function from treatment alone, but from the support and understanding of a family or community. There are so many who suffer that are most likely involved in your life. It is important to take the time and understand them. It is necessary to understand that these individuals do not choose to have a mental disorder, but because they do, they need our care and support.
I think in general, normal population, the norm, thinks that mental illness is a whole lot worse than what really resides within the people that have the disease. And we get that from TV, we get that from all different kinds of sources that kind of exaggerate, someone running down the hallway screaming. Although that does happen, it's infrequent. And when patients are treated, that's a very rare occurrence. I never saw that once the whole time I was at the regional medical center. But understanding, even a modest amount of understanding for the various kinds of mental illness, I think would dramatically reduce the stigma about that in our culture.
In short, in the words of author Ian McLaren, be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. Don't judge anyone on the basis of a mental condition. Be open, be accepting, be understanding, and appreciate the fact that everyone in our world is unique and important.